Weird. I look like I have a filter on, but I don't. Weird. I don't even know where the filters are on here. All right. Hi. Hi, Susie. Hi. I didn't even name my live, but I'm going to. It's October, which is whatchamacallit month. Um Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I forgot. And then I found out, I heard, double tapped to like, oh, okay. And then I heard on, I don't know, somewhere on the news, but not on the news. All right, so I'm gonna get into this now. This is, this is a mother speaking on behalf of her daughter in San Antonio, Texas. And as you all know, there's a lot of domestic violence out there. I don't even really think it's talked about enough, to tell you the truth. Men and women, and I covered a lot of it, as most of you know. Camera's up there. A good 4 or 5 months ago, and sad because people know when they're in an abusive situation, but if things don't get much better in their life, which you'll see with this girl, staying in a 1-bedroom apartment with her father and 2 little girls, here comes the man again, whatever. Her boyfriend saying, oh, it'll be different this time. And it hardly never is. And it's sad because it was for 2 months for her. And, she had contact with her mom and everything. So I wanted to share this anyway. But then when they said October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I do. Thank you. I love green. I love the green color. Thank you. Hi, Aussie True Crime. Hi, Mary Jane. Hi, Susie. Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Well, I have green in my eyes. Look. Wait, where is it? See? They're not green. Gosh darn it. They're green brown. See? I have hazel eyes. All right. Here we go. I'm going to try to make the screen bigger.
5:31 right now. Today, people around the country are asked to wear the color purple sword for those who have experienced domestic violence and abuse.
God.
Now, this morning, we have the story of Erica Torres. She is a local woman who police say was shot by her husband earlier this year. News 4's Tony Davis spoke with her mom about how Erica has been forward ever since. Tony, good morning.
Okay, it's going to be at an angle.
Good morning. Domestic violence is something no mother wants to see their daughter go through. I sent Edith Terrazas on why it's important to tell her daughter's story. According to mother Edith Terrazas, 31-year-old Erica Torres is a kind and generous woman who and is loved by her family.
She's very vibrant, very bubbly. She loves to go out, and she has a bunch of friends. And very social. Very happy person.
Torres's life changed once she met Billy Delgado 6 years ago. What began as a loving relationship quickly turned abusive. Although Erica moved to Dallas to be with him and have their first daughter, she was becoming distant with her family, according to her mother. Terrazas wanted to step in, but feared her daughter would push her away.
It doesn't sound good, and as a mother, you can only say so much, because then you don't want them. If you go too far, then they're not going to tell you anything anymore.
Erica eventually moved back to her home in Laredo, but her husband followed her there to try to work it out. Terrazas says it was all fine until the COVID pandemic hit, and Erica mentioned her husband's drinking was getting worse and the abuse was still going on. Eventually, Erica left him, but things took a tragic turn. On June 1st, Erica, who had been separated from Billy for a year, agreed to pick up her daughter from his home. When she arrived, Billy was waiting and shot her over 14 times. 5 bullets hit her in the stomach.
I get a call from his mom, all frantic, that Billy has shot Erica, my daughter. And at the moment, I'm trying to understand it because it's not a phone call, and, it completely throws you off.
Erica was immediately taken to the hospital where doctors worked tirelessly to save her life. Several days later, she made it to the next day.
I whispered in her ear and I told her not to forget. I told her, don't forget whose daughter you are, and to fix her crown and to keep on fighting.
Erica was eventually transferred to University Hospital in San Antonio for further treatment. She is currently in rehab, still recovering from major injuries. The only way she receives food is through IVs and cannot walk on her own. However, her mother says she does not want this to be the end of her story. Teresa says she wants justice for her daughter and for other women to learn from her situation.
We have to show them that they need to be strong. My granddaughters have to see that their mom is strong. They need to see that they need to move forward.
Erica's husband, Billy Delgado, is currently in jail awaiting trial for shooting at Erica, according to police. He was offered a plea deal, but denied it. Reporting live on back to you.
Okay, so good. I hope nothing else just starts. Okay, that's all at an angle and probably hard to read. That light green headband looks gorgeous with hair color. Thanks, Pink Panty. Thank you. She made it. Well, she almost didn't, you guys. That's the thing. In fact, the doctors told the mother, we just don't know. There's so much damage, right? From the bullets inside her abdomen. They didn't think she was going to make it through the night, and she did. But her mother drives every day, I think it is, an hour and something to see her with her granddaughters. So they can see their mom. And it's just really sad. So I'm going to try to just leave it alone. See, it's layered all over, so it's kind of hard to... Anyway, hang on, okay? I'm gonna... I think I need to set this up on something higher. Oh, and I need to say really quickly, copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer. This video is for educational purpose only. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976. Allowance is made for fair use. For purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right. I'm just going to prop this up on some books and see. So the whole story, it's 35 minutes long. Hi, Leanie. It's the whole story on how many times she leaves and goes back and tries to work and this and that and the other thing. Am I single? Says Odin Disciple. Yes. Hi, Genevieve. Hi, everybody. Yeah, and as most of you know, I tried doing a live last night, but was stressed out about my ex because he's, in all honesty, harassing me again. And yeah, and I called him today and I left it was real quick little 1 minute messages, but I explained some things and I wasn't mean, wasn't nasty. Um, yeah, but I needed to. I could hardly sleep last night. It's the same old, same old. Now here's my channel, so I'm not gonna say much more, but I do the best I can. If my son doesn't want to go in because of anxiety and even wearing sunglasses to pick out his food, he gives me a list and I do it. Thanks, Lainey. Thanks. So, I had a pretty busy day of shopping and it's really windy here. I mean, really windy. It didn't just touch me, it smacked my face. When that's try rules. I have a 67 Chevelle Cherry Crush. Come pick up. All right, so let's see what this whole story is about. I'm going to try to make it bigger. But needless to say, I left messages. He didn't answer. But I told him, I said, your own son doesn't even know why you're doing this. So life's hard enough, and stressful enough. I'm 47, yo, single, biracial man from New York State, no kids. Never married, lives with family members. I'm not looking for a relationship. To me, you're cute and I want to. Oh my God, Odin comes right out and says, I don't want a relationship. I want to have sex with you. Is it possible? You're funny. At least you're honest and blunt. Whoa. This is sliding around now. Okay. All right. Year old. How old am I? I'm 62. I don't think you want me. But we're not all shriveled up people. You're so funny. All right, I'm gonna play this, okay, in its entirety. Hopefully it'll work.
My daughter's name is Erica Edith Torres. She's just turned, in May she had turned 31. She's very
Why won't it get bigger?
Very bubbly. She loves to go out.
Oh.
Has a bunch of friends and very social. Very happy person.
Turn this around.
She's tiny. She's 4'9" and
There we go.
so she adds that other half. But she's big when it's, when she's around her friends and everything.
And tell me how we got to the point that we are today with your daughter.
My daughter.
Can you guys hear it?
Relationship about 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
She got into a relationship with a previous acquaintance that she knew from high school. Hadn't seen him in a while, and she started talking to him, and then they started going out. It was a long distance relationship, and I didn't know much about him. The next thing I know is she tells me that she's going to be moving because he lives in Dallas so that he can be closer to his son, and that she's going to be moving up there with him, and she just had found out that she's having a baby.
Oh,
so now they're having a baby and she's moving.
So now they're having a baby.
And so, well, we wish the best. And in contact and everything, and I know that it's hard for her because she's away from her family. We're very close, and she has a little girl that's 5 at the time, and I miss her a lot because I'm very close to them. And as time goes by, she just seems distant, and in conversations she mentions things that just are off. But, you know, they're having a baby, and so let's give them time. As time goes by and everything, she decided to move back to Laredo. She says that it's not possible to continue over there, and so she moves down to Laredo, and he decides to come down too. Unfortunately, it's COVID hits. Nobody has a job, and things start to get really bad. His drinking starts to get really bad, and once COVID finishes,
Shoot.
she's able to get a job, and they're trying, but he can't find any work in Laredo, so they decide to move to San Antonio.
Whoops.
His family, his mother, and his stepbrothers and his stepdad live here in San Antonio, so they
Too
move over here to San
fast.
Antonio. Things are going good for a while, but then I start getting phone calls from her, and she starts mentioning things that he does, the way he acts with her, very possessive, you know, very jealous, very controlling. And I mentioned to her, can you hear what you're telling me? It doesn't sound good, and as a mother, you can only say so much, because then you don't want them, if you go too far, then they're not going to tell you anything anymore. So you want to know what you're going to say, because you want to know that you're there to be supportive and you're there to listen to them, and so that they can still feel that they can talk to you. Time continues, and apparently things just start getting really bad. She decides to leave, and she leaves. She goes down to Laredo. She's there for a while, a couple of weeks, before he heads down and starts looking for her again and telling her that things are going to be different and everything. And
Things
she
should
needs
be
to come back.
different.
So a couple of
How's
months
the
later,
sound?
trying to everything being nice. Next thing we know, they're going to get married. To cover, I guess, whatever is missing, they're getting married. And so we're like, okay. And it's at the end of when we're trying to really
Sound
get
is
out of
good.
and stuff, and things
Right.
are really slow and stuff. So they just do a small wedding through the Justice of the Peace and everything, because, like I said, it's at the end of what COVID was, and so things were not in full bloom or anything. And then a month later, she's headed back to Laredo because she finds out that he's cheated on her. And so back to Laredo, and I told her not to worry, that we'll help her out and everything. But then he always follows her, because he always wants to make things work. And of course, at that time, the fact that she's already told us that he cheated on her, we're very disappointed that she wants to try to make the marriage work. And so she comes back with him to San Antonio. We keep some distance because we're angry, I guess this is where he starts to see that he has the upper, because he's so controlling with her and where she's at and what she does, and always has this thing about, like, that we're talking about him. And so it's difficult for her. We keep our distance, like I said, because I don't want to talk to him, because what had happened. And she calls me one day and tells me that she had to call the police, because in the middle of the night, he was choking her. And she had to call the police and ask them to just remove him from the apartment. She didn't want to press charges. She just was scared because he had choked her. And he didn't.
She
he
probably
didn't
should
know what he
have
was doing.
pressed charges, so he could have
Granted,
gone
he had been drinking, and she wasn't sure if he was doing any other drugs.
possibly
So-
anyway.
I told her she has to be really careful, because she has these 2 little girls. And
But she didn't know.
after that, things escalate, and it seems like it starts becoming more constant. So she leaves back to Laredo. And he follows her, tells her that he
What's
wants to make
that?
things work with her and everything. And it's just,
Siren here?
that routine that happens when women are in this abusive relationship, the going and the coming and the going and the coming. And it gets where there's just been so much that has gone on that it gets to a point to where it's a breaking. And so they split up, and they don't split up amicably. I mean, he doesn't want her to leave, but she knows that she can't stay in the relationship anymore, and so she leaves. They had been separated for a year before all of this happened.
Is the sound okay?
Her birthday is on May the 19th. She turned 31.
Is the
That day,
sound
she
okay?
had gone to go pick up her daughter from him, and every single time she would go and pick up the baby, something
Tell me
always
if
had to
it's
he'd always
okay,
start with
okay?
something. And he mentioned to her that
No, I don't.
something
I
about
don't
her car
want
being dirty
anybody
or something, and
blocked.
she tells him not to be saying something,
How-
and then
if
he
you
tells
don't,
her
how can
that
you?
for her to
Oh,
enjoy
you blocked
the last
Odin
days
from
of her
you.
life. And
I
she's like, why
want
do you always say
people
stuff
to
like that?
be able, you know.
And
She actually
How did you
called
block
his
him
mom
without
to
a
talk to his mom about
wrench?
what he was saying to her.
Whoops.
And I don't know exactly what was said in their conversation.
Okay, you blocked him so you can't read
About
his things,
and that was
Susie.
and then 12 days later from that day, she gets a call from him that he wants her to pick up their little girl. It was the weekend that he had her, and for her not to be asking questions or anything, that for her just to go and pick him up. And it's my understanding, I get a call from his mom, all frantic,
Yes.
that that Billy has shot Erica, my daughter.
Yes, Susie, you're right. Okay.
And at the moment, I'm trying to understand it because it's not a phone call, and it completely throws you off. What do you mean he shot Erica? Like, why? What happened? And I can't understand what she's saying because I'm sure she's also freaking out. And at the time, I receive a phone call from my niece, and I hang up that phone call with her to get the other phone call, and my niece is telling me that Billy shot Erica. And I tell her why, what happened, and she's like, "Yeah, I'd been there," and I'm like, I didn't know where to go, and
Is my sound okay?
I didn't even ask about their
down
daughter, where she
below
was,
on my
because it just
bed.
doesn't register, like, to understand where they're even at, where did all of this transpire.
How's my sound?
And
Can
she
someone
hangs up.
please tell me?
His mom is calling again, and she's yelling on the phone and telling me that Billy shot Erica, and I'm like, where are they? Because I don't know where I'm supposed to go, and I'm leaving at work, and I'm trying to leave, but I don't even know where it is that I'm supposed to be going. I'm just driving to get out. I'm driving out of the parking lot. That's when I get another phone call from my niece telling me that he shot her, and that she doesn't know where or what. She doesn't know if she's alive or not, but that they're taking her to Laredo Medical Center.
Kind of glitching.
I'm driving over there. From my understanding,
Does
what
the
I'm driving
sound
over there,
okay?
I need to call her dad to tell him what happened, and let him know. And he's also asking me the same thing, that so that they can let us in, because they won't let us into the back part of the emergency room. And my already, and she's telling me that she was on the phone with my daughter when she hears him get near the car and he starts shooting at her. And it's my understanding that
Hi,
he called her and
Froggies.
told her to go and pick up
Thank
their
you.
daughter, not to ask any questions or anything. And then when my daughter got there, shooting at her, he unloaded a 9mm and 14 rounds. She received 5. And my granddaughter was watching when he did this. They rushed her. They hadn't told us anything. And the doctor comes out, and there's a police next to him, and he's telling me that they're trying to do everything they can, but that they can't stop the bleeding, and that they've already done in the surgery room, but that they're going to take her to the second floor to continue the surgery, and that they're trying to stop the internal bleeding because it's just massive damage that she has to her abdomen. And so they tell us to go to the second floor. And of course, as we're going that way, her father's walking in, and I need to tell them that I don't know if she's going to make it, but that's what's telling us. They right away detained him and took him that's what the police officer told us. And we're on the second floor waiting to see what they're going to tell us. At this time, his mom calls me and tells me that if she can go in to see us. And I tell her that he's welcome to come in. And when she goes to talk to me, she tells me that he called them on the phone, and that he was telling them that he was going to do this and that he was in that, and she was arguing back and forth with him, and that she heard him when he said, "This is what I'm going to do," and she started hearing the shots. And she's, she wasn't there, like she couldn't do anything. I told her that we just had to wait and see what was gonna happen. They came out of the surgery, and they told us that they were in a really hard time stopping the bleeding, that was their biggest concern, because it was just massive damage she had to her abdomen, and that they were gonna have to wait. They couldn't continue anymore because they had to give her body some time from all of the bleeding that she had and all of the swelling, but that they couldn't tell us if she would make it through the night. And so we waited. All the family left, and we're there waiting. I stayed there, and then they let us see her, and we prayed with her, and I whispered in her, I told her not to forget. I told her, don't forget whose daughter you are, and to fix her crown and to keep on fighting with her. And that she had her girls, and that they were waiting for her, that she had to fight for them too. And then we stepped away, and we waited, and we prayed for a miracle that she would make it through the night. And I asked God to not take her away from me. And she made it through the night. She made it through the night, and the doctors told us, and then they were taking her in again for surgery because she was bleeding out. And they
Jeez.
took her again into surgery. And as soon as they were able to stabilize her, they moved her, they air flew her over here to the University Hospital here in San Antonio. And then she started going through just surgery in and out every single day, surgeries and surgery every day to try to fix all of the damage that she had
Poor
been
thing.
done to her abdomen. It's just what he did wasn't right. It wasn't fair. She didn't deserve for him to do to her.
Mm-mm.
I want people to know that it's not always easy for them to leave. I know that a lot of people talk about, oh, why don't they leave? It's not that easy for them to leave. People that are not in an abusive relationship, they don't understand. I had a hard time understanding it. And like I want her story to be known because I want it to be fair. I want her to have justice in the right way, because her life is never going to be the same anymore. She's going to have multiple issues due to all of this. And she still has little girls that she needs to raise. Not to say all of the damage that's been done, because all of this occurred in front of my 4-year granddaughter. She watched her dad, mom. And she can tell you, she says it, my daddy shot my mom. Tell a little girl that's 4 years old about that.
Gosh.
It's hard. You never think that you're gonna get a phone call and they'll tell you that your child has been shot. You never understand quite the devastation that goes on. Something like this happens. It's not just, my daughter, it's others. The family, everything that we've gone through. She spent months in ICU, hooked up to machines. She hasn't been able to eat. She eats through a vein because she can't eat. Girls can't be with her. And she's never gonna have the life that she had before. And I want people to know that it's not fair. That's not fair that she won't ever have her life because he was very selfish in doing what he did.
It's attempted murder.
So, kind of the emotions you were feeling driving all the way out here, where you were going through a lot, for lack of a better term.
I drive out here almost every other weekend because I'm here. She still has not been able to go home. So I drive out to San Antonio every weekend, if not every other weekend, depending, because I have my granddaughters. I'm taking care of my granddaughters.
Every day, it's every
And
week.
bring them also so they can see their mom. So every weekend, it's not just every weekend, it's every day, because every day I have to look at my granddaughters every day. They ask about their mom. They ask if their mom is doing better. When is their mom coming home? The older one, she understands, but the little one, it's harder when she tells me, I want my mommy. And I told her, your mommy is going to come home. You just need to give her time.
So also kind of tell me, obviously it's tremendously hard for someone in the domestic violence relationship
Someone
to go through this,
put
but you
trigger warning in the
you told me you didn't want to pry too much with worry that you would lose your daughter. Talk a little bit more about
chat,
that
please,
perspective.
for me.
Yes, I would notice that if I would be too hard and be criticized too much about it, then sometimes she wouldn't open up to me. I started noticing that she was not the one telling me anymore what was going on. I was starting, the older one was sometimes she would mention things. And then that's how I knew that wasn't being completely honest with me about what was going on. And then I guess because it got so bad, she didn't have any other choice than to let me know what was going on.
Thanks,
She
Mary
needed help.
Jane.
And why would you say it's so important for family members to not really give up on those who are going through something like this?
It's really important that you don't give them, because then they feel then that lost. I mean, I know that was part of the control that he had, and he would always tell her, oh, well, they're not going to help you. You're going to go back, and they're not going to want to help you because you're just going to come back. And that was the controlling that he had. The more control he had over her, and the more he would distance her and keep her away from her friends and keep her away from her family, that was his way of having more control. So that's one of the reasons. I mean, it's important that you don't stop calling, don't stop the communication. I always had to be careful because I knew if he was around, I could right away notice a different tone in her voice if he was there listening to the conversation. And so I would be really careful about what I would say and what I would ask.
And we always hear, go to the police or go reach out, and you were even telling me that's not really, it didn't turn out well for her when that happened. Can you?
Unfortunately, it didn't work out. My daughter had an incident when
This is sad.
they were having a discussion, and he was grabbing her from her arm and shaking her. And my daughter, she tried to get away from him. And when she tried to release herself, that she yanked off of him, she hit him with her hand, and it bruised his eye. The neighbors heard all the yelling and everything, and so they called the police. By this time, my daughter had already started getting his things so that he could get out of the apartment. When the police get there and they see that he has red purplish on his face, they
Guess
ask
who
him
gets
that if she
arrested?
hit him, and he says yes. And so they automatically just went and arrested my daughter, and
So
they
stupid.
pressed on her with assault, never taking the time to ask what's or anything. They just automatically arrested her
What's wrong with some of
and
these
didn't do anything to him.
cops?
And
God.
then she ended up with charges for assault. Gave her a district. They assigned a public defender to her, which never did anything for her. During that time, because she was charged with assault, the law states that you need to stay away 30 days because they do a protective order for 30 days against the person who did the assault. So my daughter left, and
Only
in
30
those 30 days that
days.
she was gone,
It's a problem right there, Texas.
the police ended up having him from the apartment because he had barricaded himself in the room with the mattresses because he was, I guess, hallucinating that people were after him. And they had to remove him and take him in, and he's detained for 72 hours because of that. And then after that, it was my understanding that he was sent to a rehab where they diagnosed him with anxiety, bipolar, and paranoid schizophrenia. And then when he was released, that's when I say that he went to Laredo to look for my daughter. And my daughter would tell the public defender, well, all of this is trending you all haven't investigated. I didn't, the charges that are on me, it wasn't because I really hit him. It was in between, trying to get him to let go of me. Mm-hmm. And they never helped her. The public defender just kept on telling her to go ahead and just plead guilty to plead guilty. And due to those charges, she couldn't get a job. So then he goes down to Laredo looking for her and promising that things are going to be better and everything. Mm-hmm. And she's in a hole basically because she's living at his house in a one-bedroom apartment. In a one-bedroom with her girls because she can't job. And
she needed a victim
how
advocate.
she's supposed to do things. So that's the part where people sometimes don't realize that, when somebody has to leave their home, she left with nothing because they didn't let her take out anything. She couldn't go back to get the things for her girls or anything. So she left with nothing. And that's what sometimes, women that are in situations like this or girls that are in situations like this, they leave their home or where their apartment or wherever it was is home for them and their kids, and where they move to sometimes is not the best thing. So when they come back and tell you, that they're going to be better and that things are going to change, sometimes that looks better than to be in a room with your kids struggling, and they want that to believe that maybe it is going to change, maybe they're going to do something different, or maybe they can do something different so that the situation doesn't continue. My daughter went back. She went back when she thought, okay, he has already gotten help. I'm going to help them clean and I'm going to help him stay better. Mm-hmm. But it only lasted, for a couple of months. And I had already mentioned it to her, and I had told her, he has a drinking problem and he has a drug problem, and now he's on medication for this bipolar and paranoid schizophrenia. If he mixes this, it's going to be a big blow up. And she was not going to, no, it's not. I'm going to make sure things stay good. Mm-hmm. And they didn't stay good. And that's where I say that, the police doesn't always get it right the first time.
So the next few months, years maybe, I don't know what your daughter's recovery is going to look like, what's the journey going to be? Is she trying to get home? Does she have to stay here in San Antonio until she's better?
Now she's at a rehab center because she can't go home yet. My daughter's situation is going to be a long-term recovery where she's basically eating from her abdomen right now. And part of the damage that was done was they had to remove 50% of her colon intestine. They removed 50% of her large intestine. And they removed about 65% of her small intestine. Right now, the doctors don't know how much of her small intestine is going to be absorbed the nutrition that we need to sustain our body. So she can't eat. She's been on TPN for the past, 4 months? The only thing she has that she can eat is a broth, if anything. The doctors have said that the possibility of her being able to go home would be maybe if they can remove the TPN and she would be able to eat
I'm
soft foods.
filming.
I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that, like what kind of soft food it would be that she would be, but they're not sure because her intestine is still damaged, it's still leaking, and so she's draining, and so they can't give us a time frame. They just know it's a long-term recovery. She can't walk alone right now. She needs care around the clock, and so her life right now is, we don't know if she'll ever gonna go back to the life she had before. Like I said, just to be able to take care of her daughters, and that's one of the things that is very, very unfair.
How do you all as a family stay so strong, or try to stay strong for just not only your daughter, but your granddaughters as well?
We stay strong because we have to move forward. We have to show them that they need to be strong. My granddaughters that their mom is strong. They need to see that they need to move forward. They need to learn. This is part of, advocating for her and her girls, because in the long run, it's going to be for them to understand and to know that for them to never give and the opportunity to ever mistreat them in any way, if it's either, because they talk wrong to them or because they belittle them or in any way, to them never give an inch.
Is there anything else that you wish to say that we may not have touched on?
I think that it being the month of domestic violence awareness, I think it is really important to touch bases and to really look at all of the women or men that have been in the situation and how many have we lost that didn't need to be lost. I really think that if things would have been handled a little bit different by the law perspective, I don't think that maybe things could have been a little bit different with my daughter.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oops. All right. Good, that light is bright. So that's really sad, isn't it? I mean, really sad. And the thing is, it happens all the time. I think there's a domestic violence situation every 20 seconds at somewhere. So yeah, it's pretty sad. And then the other day, in my email, this man was horribly abused by this woman that took him in and all this. Yeah, the victim was charged. Ridiculous. So all your chats are up here, whatever, and within seconds it all fades away. How do you even get it to stay here? Whoops. I'm just gonna pay for my monthly StreamYard. That's what I'm gonna do. All right. So the speaker on the bottom, is it working okay? I mean, I'm just shocked. Was the sound really okay, you guys? Because the speaker's on the bottom, right? Camera's up here. Yeah, I tried to do live and everything to help me go to sleep and to remind myself if life is a game, these are the rules. 10 Rules for Being Human is introduced in Chicken Soup for the Soul by Cherie Scott, PhD. We're on Rule 3. How's my son? Like with the iPad sitting like this? Yeah, it's working. We can hear you. I'm just shocked. Because remember when I've touched the speaker other times, Mary Jane? And I didn't realize I was, and it was all staticky. All right. Rule 3. Oh, hit the like and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I almost said prescribed. Subscribed. Please do so. Odin, if you're still here, and that other guy, now I can't remember. You guys are names that I haven't heard before. And anyone else that's sitting in the bushes that's willing to subscribe. Growth is a process of experimentation, as of trials, errors, and occasional victories. The failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiments that work. Let me call for Parker. We can get this back. Parker! Okay. Door's locked anyway. Here. Are you a patient? Oh. Oh. All right. My son got a laser toy for the kitties, you know, sent to him. It's got little smileys and little stars, and my daughter's playing with him out there. All right. Human growth is a process of experimentation, trial, and error, ultimately to wisdom. Each time you choose to trust yourself and take action, you never quite be certain how the situation will turn out. Sometimes you are victorious, and sometimes you become disillusioned. The failed experiments, however, are no less valuable than the experiments that ultimately prove success. I have my head over that bright light, because see? Makes the whole thing blurry. Here, there we go. In fact, you usually learn more from perceived failures than you do from your perceived successes. Most people feel great disappointment and anger when their plans in which they've invested a great deal of energy, time, and money fall through. The first reaction for most of us is to feel that we have failed. What is to feel that we have failed? The first reaction for most of us is to feel that we have failed. While it is easy enough to jump to this depressing conclusion, it will impede your ability to progress with your life lessons. Rather than viewing your own mistakes as failures and others' mistakes as slights, you can view them as opportunities to learn. As Emerson said, every calamity is a spur and a valuable hint. Every situation in which you do not live up to your own expectations is an opportunity to learn something about your own thoughts and behaviors. Every situation in which you feel wronged by another person is a chance to learn something about your reactions, whether it is your own wrongdoing or someone else's. A mistake, an opportunity to evolve further along your spiritual path. When you consider the hardships of life, well, thank you. Hi, Gloria. I don't think I've seen you in here before either. Yeah, I've read. I read the one my grandma wrote like 5 months ago, and I took a hiatus for 3 months, and I came back, and I've covered all the different mental illnesses out there and the different words that go with them and describe them, and then I did a whole series on New Beginnings, a domestic violence class that I took, I think it was 15 years ago now. You know, all about the control wheel and codependency and interdependence. So those are all in there too. But when I started, a little over a year and a month ago, it wasn't the mainstream true crime that everybody talks about and all the same things. It was past crimes and serials from around the world, and people disappearing on cruise ships. You know, there's more than 1, 2, 5, or 15. There's about 35 here, you guys. To me, that's scary. You know, maybe it's more now. I don't know. But yeah, and it's men too, you know, like if you're gambling and you're flashing your money a little bit, or women, whatever, and you're drinking, someone might eye that and just off you, you know. That's what they're thinking happened to one man. Can't remember his name, but he was there on his honeymoon, you know, with his wife, and you know, there was blood down below where he fell, and blood in his room, and she was wasted and passed out somewhere, and they never did find his body. When was that? Was it 2010? That was a while back. But I covered that one too. Anyway, rather than viewing, oh, I already read that. When you consider hardships of life, the disappointments, the hurts, losses, illnesses, all the tragedies you may suffer, and shift your perception to see them as opportunity for learning and growth, you become empowered. You can take charge of your life and rise to its challenges instead of feeling defeated, victimized, or cast adrift. A wonderful story that illustrates this is from The Speed by Gwyneth Cravens. Assad told her story about a young girl from Morocco. This is from part of that book. From Morocco, whose father was a spinner. He became prosperous in his craft and took her with him on a voyage in the Mediterranean. He wanted to sell his thread and told his daughter that she should also look for a young man who would make her a good husband. But a storm caused the ship to flounder near Egypt, killing the father and casting the daughter ashore. Miserable and exhausted, barely able to remember her previous life, the girl wandered in the sand until she finally met a family of weavers. They took her in and taught her how to make cloth. Eventually, she became contented. But after a few years, she was captured on the seashore by slavers who then sailed east to Istanbul and took her to its slave market. A man who made masks went to the market to buy slaves to help him with his work, but when he noticed the girl, he took pity on her, bought her, and took her home to serve his wife. But pirates stole the cargo he invested in, and he was unable to buy the other slaves. He, the girl, and his wife had to make all the masks themselves. The girl worked hard and conscientiously. The mask maker found her to be so capable that he eventually granted her freedom and made her a partner in his business, which she came to enjoy. One day he asked her to accompany a shipment of masks to Java. She agreed. Off the coast of China, the ship was struck by a typhoon. Again she was washed on a strange seashore, and again she cried out against fate. "Why do these bad things keep happening to me?" she asked. No answer came. She got up out of the sand and started walking inland. There was a legend in China that a foreign woman would appear and make a tent for the emperor. Because nobody in China knew how to make tents, the whole population, including one generation of emperors after another, wondered about this prediction. A year, the emperor sent out emissaries to every town to bring all the foreign women to the royal court. In due course, the shipwrecked woman arrived before the emperor, who asked her through an interpreter if she could make a tent. "I think I can," she said. She asked for rope, but the Chinese had none. So, recalling her girlhood as the daughter of a spinner, she asked for silk and spun it into rope. She asked for thick cloth, but the Chinese had none. And so, recalling her life among the weavers, she wove the kind of cloth used for tents. She asked for tent poles, but the Chinese had none. Recalling her life with the mast maker, she made tent poles. When she had all these things ready, she tried to remember as best she could all the tents she had seen in her life. At last, she put together a tent. The emperor marveled at the construction and at the fulfillment of the old prophecy, and offered whatever she wished. She married a handsome prince, remained in China, surrounded by her children, and lived to old age. And she realized that although her adventures had seemed terrible when they were happening, they turned out to be essential for her ultimate happiness. The girl in Assad's story saw in hindsight the magic within dreadful circumstances. She was able to see the perfection in the grand scheme of things. While it is not always easy for us to view our situations from a macro perspective, it is essential in order to find the good in what appears to be unfortunate circumstances. Beetlejuice is in here. I have all these kind of different names. What was it like working with Scooby-Doo? Oh, my thing is like Thelma. That's why someone said Thelma. Mary Jane said Thelma. Has different tops and also. See, here's another new one. And I can't pull them up. Agitator 263. Hi, I'm lurking in the bushes. What's your chill about? This is my first time here. Oh, okay. I think that's what they mean. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's what my channel is about. And now it's just kind of whatever topic or whatever I want to talk about. When I came back on after 3 months, taking off this whole summer, and honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to come back at all. I spoke about Carly Gregg, the young, well, she was 14 when she did 14 when she did the crime, and she was barely 16. Got tried as an adult and got life with no parole for shooting her mother and attempting to take the life of her stepdad. And not that mental issues make it all okay, but since she was a little girl, she had problems, and it genetically ran in the family, and she was dealing with pot and teenage situation. I just really wished. Yes, I watched the rest of yesterday's trial earlier today, and then I put it on times the speed, went to Law and Crime, and finished the 5th day. So yeah, it's really something else. The brother of Leilani, Paul, he seemed to kind of enjoy it up there on stand. He was a funny guy. Okay. To ease this process of learning, you must first master the basic lessons of compassion, forgiveness, ethics, and ultimately humor. Without these essential lessons, you remain trapped in your limited view and unable to parlay mistakes into valuable learning opportunities. All right, little parts. Next, I'm going to read, about compassion. I'm live and I can't turn it off. I'm not on StreamYard. Anything you say is going to be blasted all over. Can you just please not? I'm not on StreamYard. Okay, so please wait. Thank you. These are, got a lot of books from my mother. And see, there's the date, 10/31/11. It's probably upside down, but maybe not. Love, Mom. And I haven't seen her in quite some time due to money issues and the COVID and her husband getting cancer and I'm having cancer. Mom definitely wants me to come see her, and I can see my sister too. And that's another thing for people to realize, you know. For me to just fly over there when my sister was having all these treatments for her 4th stage of ovarian cancer. I mean, why not wait a little longer? I've waited this long, you know, because I have one sister. I do have a half brother that I've only seen twice in my whole life. He's in his 30s. Last time I saw him, he was 11, for real. Oh, it'll work out. We talk every day on the phone, and my mom said, because she knows I have a lot of pets, money's tight, and just things happen in life, because I've had to take my son too. I can't just do things. So it was really kind of a miracle that I could hop on a plane and go south. But my daughter was willing to take care of things, and I was only gone about 3.5, 4 days. But I don't want to see my mom for 3 days. I want to be able to go for a week. So things have to be lined up, you know, planned. You know, it's just the way it is. My life is very different from other people's. But she sent me this book and it says, Dearest Megan, actually, I don't see life as a game, but these are the words of living advice that's good for us all. All my love. And she sent me a book I've read part of, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And then there's Don't Sweat the Small Stuff for Families. And I just finished, a week ago or a few days ago, Marianne Williamson's Return of, which was pretty powerful. But I used to do more like panels and hang out and all that, which I can do when I'm able to pay for StreamYard. Because I like having the unlimited, and unlimited StreamYard went from $25 to $35 a month. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. Compassion. The individual is capable of both compassion and great indifference. He has it within his means to niche the former and outgrow the latter. That's by Norman Cousins. Great compassion or great indifference. Boy, ain't that the truth, huh? Compassion is the act of opening your heart. To live in a state of compassion means you approach the world with your emotional barriers lowered and your ability to connect with others intact. Compassion is the emotional glue that keeps you rooted in the universality of the human experience as it connects you to the essence of those around you. We do not all walk around hearts wide open all of the time. However, doing so leave us overwhelmed and in emotional danger. If I kept my heart open and exposed while watching the 6 o'clock news every night, I would most likely recover from the rush of helpless and hopeless feelings created by all the tragic stories. Isn't that the truth? Sometimes it's necessary to keep your emotional barriers up as a way to protect yourself. The key to learning the lesson of compassion is realizing that you are in control of the erection or destruction of those barriers that create distance between you and others. You can choose to dissolve those barriers when you want to connect with the heart of another human being. You can also choose to limit others' access to your heart when you need to by forming judgments that separate you from that which you are judging. Judgments are not always negative. Your judgments are what keep you from walking around like an open membrane, open and exposed to whatever information you contact with. At times, your judgments serve to help you decide what beliefs, thoughts you choose to let in from the outside world and help you discern what is true for you. Without your sense of judgment, you would be bombarded with hundreds of conflicting ideas over which you would have no power to discriminate. At other times, however, your judgments can limit you and prevent you from being compassionate when and where that is needed. When your judgments become more empowering than your ability to practice empathy, you separate yourself from your own human essence. You put yourself into a box of self-righteousness and seal yourself off from your innate need to connect with other people. You may feel superior to those you are, but you may also feel the chill of loneliness imposed by your isolation. The only antidote for rigid judgments is compassion. The secret to learning to open your heart is the willingness to connect to your essence, the essence of the person you are judging. From there, the magic of compassion opens limitless doors to human connection. In order to learn the lesson of compassion, you will first need to recognize when you have become trapped by your limiting judgments. The best way to do this is to pay attention to your breathing. If your breathing feels shallow or tight, which mine does right now, a little bit sitting kind of hunched over, that's okay. You are most likely trapped in a judgment that needs to be released. Your conscious mind can also help identify when compassion is called for. Chances are, if you are able to pause in the middle of making a judgment long enough to consider compassion, then compassion is required. You would not have entertained the thought otherwise. As you learned in Rule 2, you have the ability to choose whether or not you will learn the lessons you are presented with. So you will then need to use your discretion to choose whether to invite in compassion or remain closed. If you choose compassion, then you need to move the judgment from its position in your mind down into the emotional realm of your heart. It is there that you can try on what would feel like to be that person you are judging and imagine putting yourself in her reality. This will connect you to her essence and evaporate the judgment encrusted around your heart. A story that my friend Nikki told me about how she learned the lesson of compassion is one of the most powerful examples of human kindness I have ever heard. As a child, Nikki and her friend were molested. Can I say that on here? I think I can. It's RAPED, I can't say. On their way home from school by a man in a brown car. Nikki memorized the license plate of that brown car and the police who captured the offender and arrested him. Nikki remained deeply troubled by that incident for many years. As an adult, Nikki became a social worker, never quite forgot that episode from her childhood, and so she had a particular softness for victims of child abuse and molestation. One day she was given the case of a sex offender who needed rehabilitation. Much to Nikki's horror, it was the man in the brown car still committing these acts 15 years later. Oh my gosh. Nikki's mind immediately flooded with judgments. She recalled the shame and anger she felt all those years ago, and something close to hatred toward this man rose up in her. She still had difficulty believing that anyone could commit such a heinous act. She had no intention of doing anything to help the man who was responsible for her terrible memories. In the midst of her judgments, Nikki realized one important fact, that this man was deeply troubled and needed to be helped. Though it was one of the most difficult decisions she ever made, Nikki chose to allow her heart to open to this man, assist him with his recovery. Wow. She got in touch with a part of her that knew that everyone, including herself, was capable of inappropriate acts at times. By connecting to her essence, she allowed herself to imagine the pain this man must have been in that caused him to behave the way he did. That's pretty profound. It was by imagining herself in his reality that she was able to release judgments and move into compassion. Compassion is also required at those times when you are harshly judging yourself. If you have made what you perceive to be a mistake, behaved in some way of which you are not proud, or failed to live up to your own expectations, you will most likely put up a barrier between essence and the part of you that is the alleged wrongdoer. By doing this, you create a chasm wide enough to hold some severely self-critical thoughts. Such a barrier is no less restrictive or destructive than one that divides you from people. At those times, you will need to consciously open your heart to yourself and show compassion. Compassion will then open the door to the possibility of forgiveness and will allow you to release those judgments that are holding you in contempt. What judgments do you need to transcend to learn the lesson of compassion? So I always have these little questions to ponder when my show's over. What judgments do you need to transcend to learn the lesson of compassion? And this chapter seems to be, gee whiz, a little bit longer. Oh, okay. Something came up on my thing. I'm not seeing chat. I don't know if much people are here. Oh, catch it on replay. Thanks for stopping in earlier, Miss Live was struck. Yes, I need to see that. I need to see that. I heard about the deer, and goodness sakes, you stopped watching the news too much for you. Good for you, no judgment from me. Oh, I just missed StreamYard. For one, I can't play a tune, right? Free from the library. And I have to keep hitting the thing to see chat. There might be a way to keep it on there, but I don't even know if it's showing up on my screen when people watch back my live. Like, I just don't know these things. I had some compassion today, not trying to toot my own horn. And honestly, that one guy, was his name Chris, California, that's just deteriorating down by the store. And I've gave him ice cream once and tried to give him food another time, and he got ran off by the managers, blah, blah, blah. When he was more lucid, he told me where he was from and said he was trying to get back to California, but he looks like he's hardcore into drugs and literally dying. Today, I went to the store. My daughter was with me, and we walked by this lady, and she didn't have a sign, and she wasn't saying anything. She had a backpack with her, and she was sitting in the backish more than up front. Well, people could see her, but you didn't really know if she was just sitting there having a cigarette, right, or needing help. But her face, not even kidding, was blown up to here on one side, and her lip was fat. And I went into the store, and I said, I don't know if, I didn't say panhandling, but what I was thinking, but I think I have a little bit of silver change. I had about $1.35 in my silver coins left in my wallet. And I said, and then as I got closer to her, she said, hey, do you have a buck? A buck to spare? And I said, I have these silver coins. It's about $1.35. She said, thanks. And I said this. I said, are you okay? And she said, my mouth is killing me. And she said, I need to get to the ER. And I said, have you been there yet? And she said, no, I just walked across town. She looked like she was maybe 30, late 20s. Her hair was black with specks of whitish gray. Her hands were brownish purple, like really cold while she's smoking her cigarette. Didn't even match the rest of her skin color. She had gone, she was just kind of hunched over. And that could be anybody's daughter even. So then I said, it looks like, I said, that's an abscess. And she said, yeah. I said, they'll pull it. And she said, well, first they'll put me antibiotics. I need antibiotics. So she was talking to me. She was very lit, you guys. I don't think she was high on a cotton picking thing at that time. And then I told her, I was kind of wondering if maybe Parker's friend, who gives me a ride at the store now because I had a falling out with my neighbors on price and all that. I can't pay more than $10 for a 5-minute ride up a hill. I just can't. So anyway, I pay someone else. My son's friend. So I asked him, he had gone into the bathroom and he was walking by, and I said, do you have even $1 for her? And he didn't feel comfortable doing it, and that's okay. But I was hoping he might, even though I know it's not that safe, like at all, and I don't recommend ever, but I thought, gee, maybe we should give her a ride to the ER. I mean, I don't know, like she didn't seem all out of her mind or anything, but these days you can't be too careful, right? So then she said, I'm going to go to the ER day. And she said, but I'm going to stay here a little bit. And then I said, are you homeless? She said, yeah. And she said, I want to make some money. And I said, how much? She said, about 20. And then I said, do you do drugs? I mean, I just said it. I couldn't believe it. She answered me. She was on. She said, yeah, I do. Like that. It was just breaking my heart, you guys. So she wanted to sit there till she got another 18 or whatever. I've never done hard drugs. All right. I've dabbled in a little of the other stuff and quite a bit of the POT in my 20s, and type deal. But, here, the pull is just, and the sicknesses when you don't have it is just horrific, you know. I mean, if I had a twin on me, you guys, honestly, even though that's enabling, I would have given it to her if she would have gone to the ER. I mean, her lips, her bottom lip was sticking out this far. It looked like she got just smacked. That's what I thought initially, and that's what I said to my daughter. I said, I gotta make sure she's okay. So she waited inside the lobby part. But then I mean, it was just so obvious. And I've seen abscesses, you know, and stuff. You know what they look like. So she said all that to me. And then I said, she goes, well, you go on and do what you need to do. And maybe I'll be here when you get out. And I didn't even know if there was anything I could do. And I said, have you eaten today? As I was walking away. And she said, no. And it was about 12:30 at that time. And I said, well, I can get you some yogurt or something because, you know, right, her abscess. And then she kind of said, or maybe some ice cream like that. Yeah. Because too, you know, I had my wisdom tooth, right, coming in. And it hurt like hell for those like days, and 5 of them were really, really bad. And now there's nothing. There's a little bit of pinching once in a blue moon days ago, but then it stops. She was bad off and in pain, you know. And I said to her too, I said, are you waiting for someone inside? And she said no. So I knew, you know, she was alone. She didn't have some other maybe homeless friend with her or something. Anyway, I went in the store. I was in there for I have food stamps, as you all know, and we were out of everything. And I had gotten her some blueberries because I had a free coupon for it. I got her a half-gallon or a quart or whatever it is, you know, the square size things of ice cream. And I got her 8 little yogurts, strawberry things, and I ran down, got some spoons at the deli, you know, got some napkins, a bag for blueberries, and lo and behold, we go out looking around the corner, my daughter's looking, and she's gone. I almost started bawling. I felt really bad because I wanted to get the things to her, but for all I know, maybe she got what she wanted. Maybe she wasn't telling me the truth and she got picked up there. Maybe someone was threatening to, I mean, because like anyone that gives a darn about anyone, you guys, would have seen her face and would have called 911 at least and said, this lady needs a ride to the ER to at least get, right? Before I walked away, I said, because I wanted to pray for her, but I didn't like religious on her or say, I'm going to pray for you and all that. But I said, what is your first name? And she said, Amanda. You know what? Possibly, you never know. Or somebody reported her, because that happened to Chris like twice. I mean, if you squat there sort of and sit there, not even like this or saying anything, but you look homeless, they scurry you away from the store. It pisses me off. You know, it's a big store where you can buy food. Yeah, I mean, and I saw. And then she also said she couldn't really, I said, you know, I said, it's going to be hard for you to get money because you're not saying anything. And she said, because of my mouth. I mean, that's really sad. And as I was standing there, I mean, a woman in her 50s walked by and a man, and, you know, people just walk by and purposely just act like they have, what are those things called? Those horse blinders or whatever, on purpose. Because A, they don't want to see it. B, if they see it, don't do anything, they'll feel like a schmuck, which frankly they should, I think. And C, they have no intention of helping anyone anyway, just because of the fact either they're homeless or on drugs or wanting drugs or wanting a drink or they're down and out. I mean, not everybody just chooses to do drugs. You know, maybe she went through horrific assault when she was a child. I mean, maybe not, you know, but it's really, really sad. So I'm glad I talked to her. I hope you guys all pray for her. When I got in Greg's car, you know, with my daughter, because he went in to use the bathroom again, all I could do is pray. I said, Lord, just keep Amanda safe and let some good people come upon her life and give a darn and help her. There's a lot of homeless people in this town, 2 hours from Seattle. I just see how people can't turn a blind eye. They don't give a fuck. I don't know how these tears are faked. Everybody thinks my tears are fake. I've got fluid coming out of my nose. I want to finish this chapter though. Thanks, you guys. Forgiveness. To err is human, to forgive is divine. That's by Alexander Pope. Forgiveness is the act of erasing an emotional debt. As you move from compassion to forgiveness, your heart is already open, and you engage in a conscious and deliberate release of resentment. That's what I did, everybody. That's what I did. I did that with Team Rose, 4 days ago or something? And she said, one gets the shirt back, the I object to bullshit or whatever shirt, that she'll at least think about with me. And you know, that's okay. You know, trust for both of us, I think, is going to take a while, but my heart is open and my walls are down. And I would like to be able to come in her chat and say hi now and then, or comment about something, you know, in a way, and even maybe come up on her panel again someday if she has panels or whatever. And I want to be friends with Maria again. Yeah, we can only control our own actions. But she really hurt me, really hurt her. It went on, it feels like forever. Its head reared, it reared its ugly head 6 months later, right? And brought up on different creators' shows, and then she said something, and then I said something, and then, you know, I played the messages again, which I shouldn't have done. And I even said that after I did it on my live. I said maybe I shouldn't have done this, but I just was feeling hurt again. And you know how sometimes when you hurt, you want a person to feel the hurt. Not like physical pain, but like the hurt. You know, whether you're, whatever it is, whether it's betrayal, distrust, or whatever it is, right? So yeah, anyway, So forgiveness is the act of erasing an emotional debt. As you move from compassion to forgiveness, your heart is already open, and you engage in a conscious and deliberate release of resentment. Perceiving past actions as mistakes implies guilt, and it is not possible to learn anything meaningful while you are engaged in blaming. These are 4 kinds of forgiveness. The first is beginner forgiveness for yourself. Not long ago, I got lost in New York subway. I was late for a meeting with a friend, causing her to wait for me in the freezing rain for nearly an hour. I felt absolutely terrible and was on the verge of beating myself up when I boarded yet another train to try to reach my destination. I finally realized that I was doing the very best I could under the circumstances. I remembered the value of extending compassion toward myself and made amends by sincerely apologizing when I reached my end. I then released the situation. Ow! Oh my God. I had that leg bent all that time. The second kind of forgiveness. Okay, so there's beginner forgiveness for yourself, and then there's beginner forgiveness for another. This is where you need to forgive someone for a moderate transgression. For instance, my friend had to wait for me in the rain, could have been really upset and held a grudge, but instead of harboring resentment, she graciously accepted my apology and we repaired a temporary rift. When I asked her to tell me how she forgave me so quickly, she said she knew I didn't intend to make her wait. She herself had been lost in the subway in the past and identified with my situation. Though she was initially annoyed, she recognized that staying angry would only energy and cause me more guilt. She chose to forgive me instead. You may resist learning this lesson because sometimes it feels good to blame people for their mistakes. It makes you feel superior and righteous when you can look down your nose and hold a grudge towards someone who has wronged you. However, harboring resentment consumes a lot of energy. Why waste valuable energy on prolonged anger and guilt when you could use that energy for far greater things? When you let go of resentment, guilt, and anger, you become revitalized and create space in your soul for growth. The third kind of forgiveness is advanced forgiveness of yourself. This is for serious transgressions. So the third is advanced forgiveness for yourself. This is serious transgressions. Cherie Carter Scott, PhD, says, the one you carry with deep shame. When you do something that violates your own values and ethics, you create a chasm between your standards and your actual behavior, which compromises your integrity. You need to work very hard at forgiving yourself for these deeds so that you can close this chasm and realign the best part of yourself. I am not saying that you should drown out the voice of your conscience by rushing to forgive yourself or not feeling regret or remorse. But wallowing in these feelings for a protracted period of time is not healthy. Continuing to punish yourself only creates a bigger gap between you and your ethic. And the bigger that gap, the greater the chance that you will repeat the unacceptable behavior. Remember, your conscience is not your enemy. It is there to remind you to stay on track and stick to your values. Just notice the feeling it is sending you, learn the lesson, and move on. The last and perhaps most difficult kind of forgiveness is the advanced forgiveness of another. Everyone I know has been morally wronged or severely hurt by a person at some time in his or her life to such a degree that forgiveness seems impossible. However, harboring resentment and revenge fantasies only keeps you trapped in victimhood. It is only through forgiveness you can erase wrongdoing and clean the slate. At the age of 45, a woman named Margot was abandoned by her husband. After a marriage, he emptied their bank account and safe deposit box and took off with another woman. Besides being emotionally devastated, Margot was terrified since she had no career training and no means of supporting herself. She felt a loathing toward her husband of which she had never imagined she was capable. It took 3 years to get her life back on track. She borrowed money from her sister to go back to school, to get a mortgage broker's license, and eventually she started her own business. Margot now feels a sense of accomplishment since the business is thriving. Though she still feels sad about the lost husband, she no longer carries around the intense hatred that controlled her for so long. Margot was finally able to forgive her husband when she shifted out of victimhood and forced herself to see the bigger picture. She was able to shift the focus away from her anger onto seeing the opportunity for growth in the present situation. Hi, Barbara Smith. Hi, JC, with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. My gosh, you guys, I have so many different people in my chat tonight. Yeah, well, I'm in Washington State and I've been a Democrat my whole life. So honestly, I want someone else to be president, but that's okay, you know, that you want. We're not supposed to talk about politics, you know what I mean, on YouTube, so I'm not really addressing it a whole bunch, but yeah. Well, what I realized, Barbara, I did some deep thinking, all right? And I realized that after 6 months, if she can go to the anger so quickly again, that there's deep rooted issues. And as far as issues, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I mean her hurt. Whose ever fault it was, okay, I don't know. But between her and her sisters and her passing, I don't think she's ever going to get over it. Ever really get over it. And I feel there was a lot of, you know, I'm saying this in a nice way. If she hears about it, sees this video, a lot of projection from what she went through about me seeing my mom. Okay. And she said repeatedly, I remind her of her sister. Okay. You know, whatever. And so, yeah. And I also found that I felt anyway, there was a part of her. I was surprised to see and feel it, but when I was just watching her program one night and reading chat, I sensed, because she was bringing me up, but not in a negative or mean way. It was when she said, I used to have a friend that I was so close to, one of the closest I've been to, I think she might have said even on the internet. And she did say this. She said, and that hurt me the most. Surprising to her. But what I know is when we care about someone, right, they're the ones that get the most deeply hurt or whatever. I mean, if we don't care about anyone at all and they hurt us, or we don't care about that person and they hurt us, then we don't really care. So the fact that she didn't just say, oh, just give me back my shirt, you bee, and don't come in here, was nice. Now, the other thing I knew, and I knew this before, is if I had been up on her panel, okay, and I had no intention of even talking about her tonight, but here I go. Not anything bad or negative if she sees this. Is when I'm on her panel, it's so easy to just, you know, get rid of people and then let them back when you're done saying something and this kind of thing. And I felt like I could talk in her chat, and this is just facts for me, because nearly everybody in her chat are new, different people than who were there before, except like Maria and maybe 2 or 3 others. all the other women wouldn't let me speak. I was trying to say something that wasn't even negative and they were twisting it. And then she'd see part of it and agree with them and this and that. And so it was almost like for the first time in 6 months, I was able to chat in there and tell her why I did what I did and tell her that I know why she did and emulate with her feelings. Okay, that's terrible. Jose Lopez. See, there's another person. I think people don't even, yeah, I don't, all these sort of new people in this thing, like maybe they don't know about StreamYard, but yet this is no different. It's just, or maybe these are people know me and are coming in as sock accounts. Like, I just don't know anymore. See this Jose Lopez. See, I'll have to delete that stuff when I watch my live back. I mean, because it's getting a little nasty. I don't know why men are so intense tonight, and that's just putting it lightly in my chat. But anyway, as far as Team Rose, we'll just see what happens. Once I'm able to get her shirt to her, we'll see what happens. I'm not going to push anything. I don't expect anything. The thing I've learned, you don't get your expectations up about anyone else. You have no control over them, period. Now, when you're in your 20s, you think, oh, if I was nicer or cooked better or was better in bed or my hair was a different color or I wore cuter clothes or whatever, you can, right, make the person feel like, gee, there's something I have to be able to do that will make them either want to stay with me or like me more or love me. Do you know what I mean? But when you go through enough in life, that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, Ron. You can't make anybody like you, love you, want to have kids with you, want to marry you, want to live with you. Like, you can't, because we all have our own free will. And honestly, a lot of pretty big egos. We do. A lot of people do. And if a lot of us don't have big ones, we at least do have an ego. We all have some kind of ego. It's just a given. Oh my God. When you do vertical lives, you get put in the shorts. Oh my gosh, really? Algorithm. Lots of new people come in, bad and good. Interesting. You're right, it's Friday. Oh, it's a full moon? I didn't know that. I can't block him. Let me see. Jose Lopez. I'm hitting him. Oh yeah, I can. Okay. I'm gonna hide the user on this channel. I forgot that I do that. Okay. Parker, I'm live, please. Yeah, I gave you the green pill holder for your meds. No, I haven't been off the bed yet. I'm finishing up this one little part of the chapter, and then I'm gonna end my live, okay? Okay. Okay, thanks. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, so So Margot was finally able to forgive her husband when she shifted out of victimhood and forced herself to see the bigger picture. She was able to shift focus away from her anger onto seeing the opportunity for growth in the present situation. In hindsight, she can finally view the entire event as a valuable learning experience. After all, without this apparent tragedy, she might never have come into her own power and learned advanced forgiveness. So again, here are the 4 kinds of forgiveness and how you can master each one. 1. Beginning forgiveness of yourself. Be compassionate towards yourself for doing the best you could with the resources you had at the time. Make amends and then release the situation. Oh my gosh! Now we got another one. I'll karate chop your toes. All these new people. But this is going to be a live on my YouTube channel. It's not going to be in the short section. Do you know what I mean? And 2, like, well, I can't see the time on this, but I think it's only 9 something. And it's like midnight something. Oh, it's 10:30 my time? Is it that late here? It very well might be. So it's 1:30 Eastern time, and a lot of people are by now or drunk. 2, getting forgiveness of another. Identify with that person's motivation so you understand why she did what she did. Show compassion and then release it. 3, advance forgiveness of yourself. Understand why you did what you did. Make amends best as you can. Then find it in your heart to absolve yourself. 4, advance forgiveness of another. Allow yourself to fully feel the hurt, anger, so that you can release it. Then view the situation as a necessary part of your path of spiritual evolution. I've done all 4 of these. I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven other people. Okay. Goodness. Now we got ethics. Mistakes, no coincidences. All events are blessings given to us to learn from. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Okay, and these are all the little excerpts from chapter 3. Tomorrow I will read chapter 4. A lesson is repeated until learned. Ethics. So you made what you perceived to be a mistake. You eventually forgave yourself, made amends, and released the situation from your mind. You will still be left with one lingering lesson: the importance of ethics. Morality is conforming to the established standards of right and wrong that have been set by the society in which you live. Oh, that's good, Corbin. Well, I wasn't insinuating that people were drunk in my chat. Friday night, and you know what I mean? I'm sober since 2011. There's DC. There's Demetrius. Hi, Demetrius. Morality is conforming to the established standards of right and wrong that have been set by the society in which you live. Ethical codes are not universal. There is no one set of guidelines that works for everyone around the world, since what we may consider morally wrong in one culture might be acceptable in another. For some, ethics are defined by religious. For others, moral codes arise from lessons learned in school or from parents. Most people in our culture were raised with the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. At its most basic, ethics involves choosing right or good behavior in your relationships with others. You are constantly strengthening your ability to choose between right or wrong. While we have basic ethics instilled in us and know what is right and what is wrong, in our heart, life throws many situations at us where what is right is not always apparent. Life is complicated and full of gray areas. Each and every situation you find yourself in forces you to choose between the two. For example, when in school you may have questioned whether it was right or wrong to let your friend cheat off on a test. Your friend may have been unprepared for the test because she was having troubles at home. You knew it was wrong to let her cheat, but if you didn't, she would have failed the test and had even more problems to deal with. When your external actions reflect your internal code, you are in alignment with your morality. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Oh, my dad always taught me to do the right thing. Everything will work out. See, I'm reading your comment and it went away within seconds. Oh, that light's so bright. There. I've been live 105 minutes. Feels like 2 hours. Okay, I'm going to say it again. When your external actions reflect your internal code, you are in alignment with your morality. This is how an individual gains integrity. Integrity is important because without it, you are living with a sense of division within yourself. You feel incomplete and conflicted. You know when you are not acting in alignment with your moral code because your conscience will remind you of the difference between what is ethically right and how you actually behaved. You will most likely experience feelings of guilt or remorse that will serve as a clue to you that the lesson of ethics needs to be learned. Whether or not you are discovered and punished for wrong behavior does not matter. You will instinctually know that you behaved wrongly. You may have only yourself to answer to, but isn't your conscience a powerful teacher if you listen to it? Antonio dearly loved his wife Cynthia. He was a devoted husband, and their life was truly blessed with harmony and compatibility. One weekend, while they were away at a wedding for some close friends, something happened that threatened their idyllic life. Antonio found himself lusting after Cynthia's friend, Vivian, and unable to contain his attraction, leaned over and kissed Vivian while the two were alone in the elevator in the hotel. Vivian returned his kiss, and they stood there, pressed up against the wall with their arms around each other for several moments. Then suddenly, as if cold water were on him, Antonio abruptly came to his senses, pulled away, and exclaimed, "What am I doing? I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I have always been attracted to you, but this isn't right. I'm very sorry." Without hesitation, they agreed to dismiss the encounter, as if it never happened. They exited the elevator and went back to their respective rooms. Antonio was devastated. How could he have done such a thing? He wondered to himself. He knew he loved Cynthia more than anything in the world, and he was horrified by his actions. Riddled with shame and self-trust, Antonio spent the rest of the weekend stewing. Sunday night in the airport, as they waited for their plane home, Antonio was still tormented by guilt. The internal schism he had created between his ethics and his actions plagued his conscience. He could not look his beloved wife in the eye. He finally decided yes to her, knowing that although the truth could destroy his marriage and radically alter his entire life, he needed to be honest with Cynthia. After telling her what happened, he apologized profusely for his behavior and begged for her forgiveness. Cynthia was shocked, hurt, and angry. After taking some time to sort out her feelings, however, she was able to find the forgiveness in her heart to release the event and absolve Antonio of his transgression. They were both relieved that their relationship had a solid enough foundation to withstand this test. Although Cynthia's forgiveness made Antonio's heart ache a little less, he still needed to live with the internal repercussions of his lack of integrity. He had violated his own ethics, and even though he made amends for the wrong he had caused, he would eventually need to forgive himself so that the gap between his ethics and his actions could close and he could be free from his shame and guilt. Over time, Antonio did in fact release the guilt, but the memory of how horrible he felt that night in the airport stayed to remind him to not stray again for his own ethics. And then the next little excerpt, and it's short, it's a page and a half. It's not like 2.5, like is humor. Why that's after ethics, I don't know. It is of immense importance to learn to laugh at ourselves. That's by Catherine Mansfield. The lesson of humor means learning to invite levity and amusement into situations that might otherwise be disastrous. If you are going to view the hardships that happen to you or the slip-ups you make as lessons rather than mistakes, a sense of humor will prove helpful. When you learn to laugh at your mishaps, you're able to instantaneously transform perceived bad situations into opportunities to learn something about the absurdity of human behavior, most especially your own. Humor and laughter are also tremendously important in relationships. Sharing a good laugh with someone does wonders. A friend of mine told me that once when she and her husband were having a disagreement, he made a face that struck her as so comical she burst out laughing. They both realized how silly they were being and they were able to laugh and resolve their conflict with a new perspective. My thing fell down. As Victor Borge, is it Borge? Borge, B-O-R-G-E, said, or Borg, might be just Victor Borg. Laughter is the close distance between two people. Wow. The benefits, both mental and physical, of humor are well documented. A good laugh can diffuse tension, relieve stress, and release endorphins into your system, which act as a natural elevator. In Norman Cousins' book, Anatomy of an Illness, Cousins describes the regimen he followed to overcome a serious, debilitating disease he was suffering from. It included large doses of laughter and humor. Published in 1976, his book has been widely read and accepted by the medical community. Laughter causes worry to vanish. It teaches you to lighten up and take yourself less seriously, even in the most serious of situations. It can also help you gain some much needed perspective. A young woman named Alyssa spent close to a year planning her wedding. She and her fiance invited over 300 guests to what was a lavish, formal affair in a beautiful banquet hall. She wanted it to be perfect. She paid close attention to every last detail, right down to the cocktail napkins. The big day came and everything went brilliantly until the very wedding cake was rolled out. A wheel of the table got caught on wire and the cake went flying through the air, finally landing in a big chocolate and icing splattered mess on the dance floor. All the guests held their breath as they looked at Alyssa, expecting her to burst into tears. Much to everyone's surprise, she looked down at the cake, started to laugh, and joked, "Hey, I ordered a vanilla cake." So give yourself permission to laugh. Be amazed at how quickly a crisis can turn into a comedy when you invite in humor. Wow. Okay. You guys. Today's the 18th, October 18th. I read from my Courage to Change now book, right? Okay, see? Courage to Change. It's an Al-Anon book, but all this, they're similar to AA. As we pursue recovery, we may encounter opportunities to deepen learning we began long ago. Perhaps we once learned to detach from a particular problem. Months or years later, when we once again need to detach, it can feel as if we've forgotten everything we knew. It's important to remember at such that, although the feelings may be the same, we are not the same. My recovery matters. All of the experience, strength, and hope accumulated is within me today, guiding my choices. I may not recognize it right now, but I have made progress, and I continue to make progress with every step I take. Perhaps I am learning something I have learned before. I must need to know it more deeply. I may go through the process this with greater awareness, or turn to my higher power more quickly and easily, or reach out I may go through the process this time with greater awareness, turn to my higher power more quickly and easily, or reach out to an Al Anon friend or a friend without hesitation. My battery was about to die. Today's reminder, instead of assuming that I failed because I am learning a different lesson once more, I might embrace the experience as part of a long-term healing process that requires repetition and practice. I can trust that eventually I will learn it so well that it will become an automatic, confident, and healthy response. The human mind always makes progress, but it is a progress in spirals. That's by Madame de Stael, Stael. All right, thanks for hanging out. If somebody'd like to put my Cash App and PayPal if they want to. Thanks, Defroggies. Thanks for hanging out so gosh darn long. It's hard to listen to people read too long, you know? Look, I got my little green earrings on. See, they're green? Right. See? They're green. Here's the green. You know, just if you want to tip your hostess, you don't feel like you have to. Yeah, it's oh, thanks, Defroggies. Thanks so much. That's really sweet because I mean, you know. Good night, Barbara Smith. Thank you. Thank you for being here, hon, and everyone else. You guys are really, really sweet to give me, your time. You're giving me your time by being here. Thank you. Yeah, I will. I feel good about making some phone calls. Even though I didn't hear back, I expressed myself with directness, but kindness. I didn't yell. I didn't call him names and anything. And it felt really good. I don't have to apologize for anything, you know? And what else? Yeah, I just want to say this about the trial in Georgia. Thanks, Defroggies. It's looking like the car, right? And it's looking like obviously someone drove it. And apparently, Danny was home. I fully believe that he knew what was going on literally from when her phone was off, from 11, whatever time, 11:40 was it, or 11:10, or whatever it was, till 5:30 in the morning. Or no. Yeah. Wait, she turned it on at 9 and it was, well, now I can't remember the gosh darn hours. She turned her phone off. And she really texted and called a lot, stayed in touch and all this. I think he knows what happened, but I think it was an accident. And was she abusive and neglectful? Hell yeah. That was so upsetting. That was so upsetting. People that tell their kids to shut up are sick. They're kids. I hear it around here all the time. I hear it. When you scold or you discipline your kid, you're not even supposed to do it in public because that shames them. You're supposed to take them aside, talk to them, whatever, right? No, mothers just love to scream at their kids on the playground. Get your butt in here. 10, 9, 8. And they wonder why maybe they're not being listened to, because I've had to say things off my balcony every now and then, but I don't put them down and I don't tell the kids to shut up, and I try to make most humor out of it. Like I said the other night, can you guys scream? Can you scream a little less? And then I kind of chuckle, and so do they, but they listen. I don't threaten to call the police. I don't threaten to tell the office. I don't threaten to find out who their parents are. Do you know what I mean? How you talk to your kids really matters. I mean, she was swatting that kid and everything. And we all knew that. We all knew she was abusive. But, how many people, I don't know, they put the man first, and their love for the man, and their their feelings, and they end up neglecting their kids, or they're not with their kids, or they only care about how much attention they're getting from the man. My biggest pet peeve are little kids that are treated like teenagers. I can't stand it. I hear it all the time out here. I mean, I've been in this apartment forever. It is. It's really sad. It's really sad. He had a tough life. But you know what? Thank God that babysitter, that young girl, or the younger teenage girl that spoke, thank God they held him with his teddy bear on the couch, right? Thank God they kept him for weeks at a time, right? Thank God they loved him and proved to him that he was special. Okay? Unless she takes parenting classes, if she ever gets out, she shouldn't even be around her other kids, but actually by then, or be able to parent them, but they're anyway. Like many people think, I think she's going to get at least 3 years. I frankly think she's going to get about 40. And maybe he'll get out in 20 or 25 with good behavior. I don't think she set out to like kill him. She didn't like, or unalive him. You know what I mean? Because she didn't like him as much as other kids. I said this the other night. I think he fell down the steps. He could have stepped into the pool. He could have ran out the road and gotten hit by a car, although you'd think someone would speak up about that. Yeah, no, she's remorseful at all. I mean, my God. I'm sitting up here bawling about some woman I saw, and I can't get the image out of my mind, you know? And I don't even know the lady. I mean, I don't know. But I was brought up by really loving parents. Yeah. It was. She always gave me like the benefit of the doubt. She listened. She misjudged me with anything. She said, instead she'd say things like, "You'll do the right thing, or you'll make the right decision." My whole life, you know, she loved me, trusted my intuition. She trusted my choices. They weren't always the best ones, that's for darn sure. But, you know, yeah, I mean, I'm not even kidding. My mom, I'll say this about our mothers. A lot of us do. No, not all of us. A lot of us do. I had the best mom. I had the most compassionate, loving mom. Let me tell you something. My mom was a nurse, her RN. Then she was a psychiatric nurse. Okay? That takes some compassion because you want to get in there and you care about their feelings. Then in her 60s, clear up to 70, I believe, she was a home care nurse. I mean, that takes something. Yeah. And, you know, so my mom's the best. Like, for real. She's the best, you guys. And I don't say that because I haven't seen her in some time. It just is what it is. She's always helped. She's never like, but I had to make my own mistakes too. It was never, well, the fathers of these kids aren't giving child support, so instantly she started giving me money or something. No. I had to work things out, you know, with my daughter's dad and figure out things and all this. And when I started struggling more, 4 years after he left us, her dad, and left us when she was 5, then she said, "Hey, I want to give this to you each month." So, but I never, and I mean ever, one time said, "Will you pay for my rent? Will you send me money every month? Will you help me with toiletries?" I pushed my daughter as a little girl to a place where you can get free laundry soap, you know, and cereal and a little bit of food, not too much. There was never much on the shelves. But you know, if you wanted a can of even baby food or whatever, and then free clothes. And I did that. So I provided for my own family the best way I could. And when you don't have a support system of like brothers and sisters and a dad nearby and someone to just hop in the car with like a family member and go buy you a bunch of groceries or something, you stand in line at the food bank. I did that for a few years. And when I got food stamps, because I didn't have those right away, I stopped going to the food bank. I could have gone, stood there an hour and gotten the free big cakes and pies and more loaves of bread and whatever. No, there's people out there that need it. I'm not going to stand in line and take it. I'm not. Even when I get low on it at the end of each month, I do. I get low. But we survive. We're fine. You know, we're not dying. We may not have three meals a day. We may not have two. The last, I dare say, the last 10 days of each month, we eat about once a day, something. But it's something, you know, whether it's some eggs and toast or whether it's some soup and a grilled cheese, whether it's one frozen pizza and some water, whatever. We're surviving, but we're blessed because we get food stamps, and I get a good amount because I don't have any other income coming in. And I know I don't have to shift, but I don't care. It just is what it is. If I got child support or at a part-time job or whatever, I wouldn't get as much as I get, you know? So I'm really blessed. I'm really thankful. And there's an organization in this town that helps people electric bill. I mean, and every year they help. And there's a lot of I don't know if it's the state or just this town, but there's a lot of help out there. Yeah. Yeah, so you know, before you judge someone, I'll just end this. Do what Cherie Carter says and put yourself in their shoes for a minute. You know, we don't always know what other people have gone through unless we've been through it ourselves. You know, when I lived at the Y in my 20s, I had to pay just $55 a week. I worked at Denny's restaurant. I mean, that's proof right there. I didn't live with my mom. I was at a Y. I could have, but I didn't want to, you know. I had no food when I moved in there. And a gal shared her bowl of macaroni and cheese with me. Like, I mean, you know, that's just so nice. And yeah, and I can't remember her name. I was friends with her for like 10 years. She had little kids and stuff later on. And I can't remember her name. I had so many close lady friends in Burlington, Vermont, where I went to high school. I didn't have that many in high school. I was never in like a clique or cheerleading or dancing. I played viola for 4 years. I was Vermont Youth Orchestra. It was after I graduated and waitress different places and, you know, met some women at bars and other women through boyfriend, you know, whatever. And, and waitresses at Denny's, and then they'd move and this and that. I worked the graveyard shift for a whole year, and that was weird. Sleeping till 3 and going into work at 11 at night and working till 7 in the morning, and you're all wide awake because you're up at night, but you have to sleep. And it was kind of an odd life. And my boyfriend at the time was in jail before he robbed the bank later on in Florida and all this and that. So he was always in jail. And oh gosh, you guys, I did not have my 20s and my 30s and moving and taking Greyhounds and flying, and the same man I married twice, and we got a divorce twice, and my life is not easy. But I really don't know anybody whose life has been easy. Anyone. So when I sit up here and I talk, and if people think that I think I know it all or anything, no, it took years. It took years for me not to be a people pleaser. It took years for me not to put expectations on others, because you're just going to be hurt. For one, you are. And to pick your battles, you know. Anyway, I love you guys. This is PCT is Extreme. I don't know if anyone put my Cash App or PayPal in chat. If someone wants to, that would be great. I can't even remember it anymore. I think it's at Dakota Dame 0627, because I was born in South Dakota. Even though I've lived here, Washington, since 91, I'm a South Dakota. I'm a Dakota girl. And then my birth date. And then my PayPal, or did I just say that? Yeah, my PayPal is the $, Paper Cut Tina, because that's who I sort of am. Or was for a year and a half. From Dolly Vision. So, when I was over there. Good night. I'm going to watch this back. I'm going to see how crazy it was in the beginning, me trying to figure out, where the light should be, and I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to get on StreamYard so I can have some music. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out so long. It's only been an hour and a half, and it feels like 2.5 hours. I mean, it just does to me. All right, I'm going to go now. PCT is Extreme is out. All right, guys. Love you. Bye-bye.